Good morning, and welcome to this very special episode of the Informed American podcast. I haven't done this podcast in quite a while because the topics were mainly political, and it was causing me a lot of stress and anxiety talking about the things that were going on in the world and in this administration. But today, I wanted to talk about um, this is something that's very urgent. It's the Trump administration's rollbacks on LGBTQIA plus rights and protections. And this has a particular focus on the transgender, non-binary, and intersex communities. And this episode is very personal for me. Several of my trans friends have reached out. They're scared and exhausted by what's happening, and I feel for them. And as a lesbian myself, I am deeply disturbed by the direction this country is moving. I was deeply disturbed by the direction the country was going back in uh, 2025 when the administration started the second time. And when I previously covered Trump's second term plans for transgender rights, many of these policies were still proposals. He was talking about them. And that was pretty much it. Now it's 2026. It's the middle of 2026. And so many of those plans have become executive orders and federal policy changes and lawsuits and agency actions. And let's just be clear. This isn't just politics. This is about people's lives, their safety, their dignity, their health care, education, jobs, identity documentation, and basic civil rights. And as an aside, so I can get this out of the way, some of this, as far as the identity documentation, is spilling over into women in general, married women, divorced women. I myself am divorced, and when I got divorced, I took my family's last name. So the last name that I have now is not what's on my birth certificate. So it is making things difficult. His policies about the voter ID are making things difficult, not just for the LGBTQIA community, but for women in general. All right, I've said my piece about that one. Now, according to the KFF, Kaiser Family Foundation, the Trump administration has issued multiple executive actions affecting the LGBTQ community. Healthcare access, non-discrimination protections, federal data collection, and public health programs. And these actions include efforts to define as strictly male or female across federal policy and to remove recognition of gender identity from federal agency operations. And one of the most alarming areas is gender affirming care for young people. Well, to be honest, for anybody. Federal actions have targeted funding and support for transition-related care for people under 19. That includes an 18-year-old who is technically an adult. They can be drafted. This is creating fear and uncertainty for families, doctors, hospitals, and most importantly, the LGBTQIA plus youth in America. And for those of you who think this should be illegal, then so should ED medication and breast augmentation because they're gender affirming care too. Now, schools are another major battleground. The Department of Education, which Trump was saying he was going to shut down, has moved away from protection of transgender students under Title IX, and AP recently reported that the department opened a civil rights investigation into Smith College over its policy of admitting transgender women. Basically, they won't do it. Now, I am seeing another pattern here. It's M to F transgender people, but there's no word about F to M transgender. Now, there's a lot of friends who are both female to male and male to female, and this affects all of them. But it's not talked about when it's female to male. And I don't understand that. And that needs to be discussed as well, because those rights are being taken away as well. Now, the Trump administration has also targeted transgender participation in sports. This one just gets me. I don't understand this at all. Who cares? He argues that schools receiving federal funds should not allow transgender girls or women to compete in women's athletics. Supporters frame this as protecting women's sports, but they don't want to protect women. The LGBTQIA plus advocates see it as another effort to exclude and stigmatize transgender people. I'm not transgender, but I am part of the community, and I'll be honest with you, this sucks and it's unnecessary. See, this is why I don't do this podcast anymore, because I get really upset. I have strong opinions, and the other side has strong opinions too. But my opinions are about equality and empathy. So I'm kind of curious, what are your issues on the other side? What do you stand for? All right, let's continue. The military is also affected. Trump-era policies have again moved toward restricting transgender military service, reversing Obama and Biden era protections, and they're creating uncertainty for the transgender service members. It's back to don't ask, don't tell. And it's actually worse now, because if you're found out to be transgender, they're not going to ask. They're just going to kick you out with no awards of any kind. Then we have the passports and identity documents. This is what I was talking about before with women in general. This is affecting everybody except men, biological men. I wonder why that is. So the ACLU's Orr versus Trump case challenges the administration's passport gender marker policy. It affects transgender, non-binary, and intersex people seeking documentations that matches who they are, and as it should. I don't understand why Trump cares how someone identifies. Why does he care so much? And why do his supporters care so much? But I'm telling you, this isn't going to stop with the trans community. It's already not stopped with the trans community. The Trump administration's actions, they also affect lesbians like me, gay men, bisexuals, queer, intersex, and broader LGBTQIA communities. It even affects cis women trying to get their passports and voter ID, and that's a whole other subject that I'm not going to get into. The Williams Institute found that approximately 360 federal data collections removed sexual orientation or gender identity measures after January 20th, 2025. Most involved gender identity, but at least 60 removed sexual orientation data. It seems like that's not a big deal, but it really is. And why this is such a thing for our community is because our rights are being taken away. Our protections are being taken away. Now, the company that I happen to work for is headquartered in Canada. So none of Trump's bullshit affects the company that I work for, thankfully. But millions of Americans don't have that protection. Trump's policies and executive orders are making it impossible for anybody in the LGBTQ community to feel safe and protected. That's bullshit. This should not be happening. When a government stops collecting LGBTQIA plus data, it becomes harder to track discrimination, hate crimes, health disparities, housing insecurity, employment inequality, and barriers to healthcare, like regular healthcare, not just gender healthcare. We're talking medical necessity. These are also concerns about workplace protections, healthcare protections, as I just mentioned, LGBTQ focused federal programs. It should just be federal programs. We shouldn't even have to be separated. It's like the 1960s all over again with segregation because of who we are. It's about prison safety standards for all of us, especially the trans community. And this is why visibility matters. It's why the language matters. It's why policy matters. It's why ending this BS from the Trump administration matters. All of these actions affect millions of Americans. Transgender people, non-binary people, intersex people, lesbians, gay men, bisexual people, queer people, anybody in the LGBTQ community, the youth, the seniors, families, students, workers, veterans, and people simply trying to live their lives safely and openly. And chances are, someone you love is affected by this. And if you're a Trump supporter, you have probably disowned that person for being who they are. Well, let me tell you this. We in the LGBTQIA plus community have disowned you for being who you are, a bigot. So, today I'm asking you to pay attention. No matter what side you're on, pay attention. Read the executive orders, follow the lawsuits, listen to the LGBTQIA plus people, support organizations doing the legal and advocacy work, and contact your elected officials. You can call the U.S. Capitol Switchboard at 202-224-3121. Ask to be connected to your senators and congressmen or representatives. This number is listed by the U.S. Senate, and it's a way to reach out to Senate offices through the Capitol Switchboard for every state. And if you're looking for a toll-free LGBTQIA plus advocacy contact, you can call the HRC, Human Rights Campaign, and their number is 1-800-4723. And ask them how to take action and voice your concerns. HRC is listed as a national LGBTQ civil rights organization working for LGBTQ equality and protecting us, this community, and our rights means protecting our neighbors and our friends, our families, and our future. Be a decent person. Have some empathy. I noticed there's a lot of African American Trump supporters. Did you ever talk to your grandparents about the segregation and what they went through? You might want to do that if they're still around. You might want to read up on it if they're not, because this is exactly the same thing. Now listen, equality isn't about special treatment. It's about survival. We deserve the right to exist. And nobody should have to fight this hard to exist. Thank you for joining me on this very special episode of the Informed American Podcast. It will be, unless something major happens regarding the LGBTQ community, I will not be doing another podcast about American politics. It makes me angry. I get stressed out and I don't want to do that. So thank you again for tuning in. Please like and subscribe to my other podcasts, Supernaturalist and Books and Gratitude, and have yourself a wonderful day.